What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses sits down for what should be a routine interview, only to find herself ambushed by questions that cross every professional line? What we witnessed on The View wasn't just uncomfortable television, it was a masterclass in how one woman refused to be disrespected on live television. Scarlett Johansson walked onto that stage expecting a conversation about her latest projects, but what she got instead was something entirely different. But before we get into the explosive moments that had social media absolutely losing their minds, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me if you think Scarlett handled this the right way, because this is one interview you're not going to forget. The conversation started pleasantly enough. Whoopi opened with, "Scarlett, welcome back to The View. We're so excited to have you here." "Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to be here," Scarlett replied warmly. Sunny jumped in. "So let's talk about this new film. Your character is a whistleblower who risks everything to expose corruption. What drew you to this role?" "You know, I was really compelled by her courage," Scarlett explained. "She's someone who sees something wrong and refuses to stay silent, even when it costs her everything. I spent time with real whistleblowers to understand that mindset, and these people sacrifice their careers, their relationships, sometimes their safety, all because they believe in doing what's right." "That must have been intense research," Sarah added. "Did any of their stories particularly stick with you?" "Oh, absolutely. One woman I spoke with told me that the hardest part wasn't even losing her job, it was losing friends who thought she should have just kept quiet. That really stayed with me." Alyssa chimed in. "And you're producing this film as well through your production company, right?" "Yes, exactly. That was really important to me. I wanted to make sure this story was told authentically, and that we weren't sensationalizing what these people go through." "I love that you're using your platform to tell these kinds of stories," Alyssa responded. "Scarlett, I have to ask you something that I think a lot of people are curious about," Joy interjected, her tone shifting noticeably. "You've played quite a few roles over the years that sparked controversy. Don't you think, as someone with your level of fame, you have a responsibility to step aside for actors who actually have lived experience with these characters?" The energy at the table shifted immediately. Scarlett paused, clearly recalibrating. "Joy, I think as actors, our job is to tell stories and inhabit characters. That's the nature of the profession. But come on, you can't tell me you didn't know there would be backlash when you signed on to play a transgender man. I mean, what were you thinking?" "Actually, Joy, I thought I was taking on a challenging role that would bring an important story to audiences. And when I listened to concerns from the community, I stepped away from the project. After the damage was done, after you'd already taken the job away from a trans actor who could have used that opportunity." Whoopi tried to intervene. "Joy, I think we should—" "No, I want to hear her answer this," Joy insisted. "Scarlett, do you not see how problematic it is for you to think you can play anyone you want, regardless of whether it takes opportunities away from marginalized communities?" Scarlett took a visible breath. "Joy, with respect, I withdrew from that project years ago after having productive conversations with people who helped me understand their perspective. I listened, I learned, and I made a different choice. I'm not sure what else you want me to say about a decision I already reversed. I want you to acknowledge that you shouldn't have taken it in the first place. That's what I want you to acknowledge. I just explained that I listened to the concerns and stepped away. I don't understand what more you're looking for here." Joy leaned back with an exasperated expression. "Of course you don't understand. That's exactly the problem." Sunny tried to redirect. "Maybe we can talk about the advocacy work you've been doing, Scarlett. I know you've been very involved with several organizations." "Thank you, Sunny. Yes, I'd love to talk about that. I've been working with Time's Up and several other organizations focused on workplace equality and safety, particularly for women in entertainment." "That's important work," Sarah added supportively. "And yet you worked with Woody Allen?" Joy interjected again. "How do you reconcile doing advocacy work for women while having worked with someone who's been accused of such serious things?" The other hosts visibly stiffened. Whoopi said firmly, "Joy, I don't think that's—" "No, it's a fair question. If she's going to sit here and talk about her advocacy work, we should be able to ask about the contradictions in her choices." Scarlett's jaw tightened. Joy, I made films with Woody Allen early in my career, and I've since said publicly that I regret those choices. I've spoken about this multiple times. I was young, I didn't have the full understanding I have now, and if I could go back and make different decisions, I would. But you can't go back. And meanwhile, you collected paychecks from him while his daughter was out there telling her story. Joy, that's enough, Whoopi said sharply. Scarlett has addressed this. Has she, though? Because it seems like she's very good at saying I've learned, I've grown, but not actually taking real accountability. Scarlett's voice was ice when she responded. Joy, I don't know what you want from me. I've publicly stated my regrets. I've changed my approach to the projects I choose. I've put my money and my time into organizations fighting for change. What exactly would you consider real accountability? Maybe not sitting here acting like you're some champion for women when your track record says otherwise. My track record? Scarlett repeated, her voice rising for the first time. My track record of working with women directors? My track record of producing films that center women's stories? My track record of using my platform to advocate for pay equity? Your track record of taking roles from people who needed them more than you did? Your track record of working with problematic men? Your track record of making excuses? I haven't made a single excuse. I've acknowledged mistakes and explained how I've tried to do better. You seem determined to ignore that. Alyssa jumped in. I think what Scarlett is trying to say. I know what she's trying to say, Joy interrupted. She's trying to say she's learned and grown, which is what every celebrity says when they get called out. It's public relations speak. It's not public relations speak. It's the truth, Scarlett snapped. I'm a human being who has made mistakes and actively tried to correct them. You're treating me like I've done nothing but cause harm, when that's simply not accurate. Oh, so now you're the victim? Poor Scarlett Johansson getting asked tough questions. That's not what I said at all. You're twisting everything I say. I'm holding you accountable. No, you're attacking me. There's a difference between accountability and looking for reasons to tear someone down. Sarah attempted to diffuse the situation. Maybe we should take a breath and... I don't need to take a breath, Joy interrupted. I'm asking legitimate questions that our audience deserves to hear answered. You're not asking questions, you're making accusations, and you're doing it in a way that suggests nothing I say will be good enough for you. Maybe because your answers aren't good enough. Maybe because saying sorry isn't enough when you've had every advantage handed to you your entire career. Every advantage? Joy, I started acting as a child. I've worked in this industry for over 30 years. Yes, I have privilege. I've never denied that. But to suggest I haven't also worked extremely hard is dismissive and frankly insulting. Nobody's saying you haven't worked hard, but let's not pretend you face the same barriers as other people. I never said I did. But you're using my privilege as a weapon to dismiss everything I've tried to do to use my platform responsibly. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Scarlett. Welcome to what everyone else deals with. Whoopi's voice cut through sharply. Joy, that's uncalled for. Why? Why can't we have an honest conversation about this? Because you're not having a conversation. You're prosecuting a witness. Joy turned back to Scarlett. Do you feel prosecuted, Scarlett? Do you feel like you're being treated unfairly right now? Scarlett looked directly at Joy, her eyes flashing. Yes, Joy, I do. I came here to talk about my work, and instead you've spent the last 10 minutes rehashing every mistake I've ever made and refusing to acknowledge any growth or change. Good. Maybe now you understand how it feels. The silence that followed Joy's last comment was deafening. Scarlett stared at her, processing what had just been said. Excuse me? And. The silence. You heard me, Joy said, crossing her arms. Maybe this is a learning experience for you. A learning experience? Scarlett's voice was dangerously quiet. Joy, you've turned what was supposed to be a professional interview into a personal attack and now you're framing it as some kind of lesson? That's incredibly condescending. Is it? Or is it just uncomfortable for you to be challenged? There's a difference between being challenged and being ambushed. Scarlett shot back. You've brought up things I've already addressed publicly, apologized for, and taken action to correct, and you're acting like none of that matters. What's the point of growth if people like you refuse to acknowledge it? Joy leaned forward. The point is that you don't get to decide when you've done enough. The communities you've harmed get to decide that. And I've listened to those communities, Scarlett countered. I've had private conversations, I've made donations, I've changed my behavior. But you're not interested in any of that, are you? You just want to publicly shame me. If you feel shame, maybe that's something you need to examine. Scarlett let out a bitter laugh. Wow. So now you're playing therapist? Joy, you don't know me. You don't know the work I've done privately, or the conversations I've had. You're making assumptions based on tabloid headlines and social media outrage. I'm making observations based on your public actions, Joy replied coolly. No, you're cherry-picking moments from a 30-year career and ignoring all context, Scarlett said, her frustration mounting. That's not fair, and you know it. Sunny tried again. Listen, I think we're getting a little heated here. Maybe we can— I'm not heated, Joy interrupted. I'm perfectly calm. Scarlett's the one getting defensive. I'm not being defensive, I'm defending myself. Scarlett clarified sharply. There's a difference. When someone attacks you, you have every right to respond. I haven't attacked you, Joy said with a dismissive wave. I've asked you questions. Loaded questions designed to make me look bad no matter how I answer them, Scarlett countered. That's not journalism, Joy. That's a hit job. The audience was completely silent now, the tension palpable. Alyssa cleared her throat. Scarlett, why don't you tell us more about your production company? What other projects are you working on? Scarlett took a breath, clearly trying to compose herself. Thank you, Alyssa. We have several projects in development that focus on stories about women who've been overlooked historically. We're working on a film about a labor organizer from the 1930s, and another about the women who worked as codebreakers during World War II. Those sound fascinating, Sarah said encouragingly. What made you want to focus on those particular stories? I think there are so many incredible women throughout history whose contributions have been minimized or erased entirely, Scarlett explained, her voice steadying. I want to use whatever platform I have to bring those stories to light. Joy couldn't help herself. And of course you'll be starring in these films yourself? Scarlett's eyes narrowed. Actually, no. I'm producing them and we're actively looking for the right actors to bring these characters to life. But I'm sure that won't fit your narrative, so feel free to ignore it. There's that defensiveness again, Joy observed. It's not defensiveness, it's exhaustion, Scarlett said bluntly. I'm exhausted by people who are more interested in tearing down than building up. I'm exhausted by the idea that one mistake defines you forever. I'm exhausted by conversations that aren't actually conversations at all. Well, I'm exhausted by celebrities who think they can buy their way out of accountability with a few donations and some pretty words about growth. Joy fired back. Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. All right, that's enough. Joy, you've made your point. Have I? Because I don't think I have, Joy said, not backing down. I think we're all supposed to sit here and applaud Scarlett for the bare minimum, and I'm not going to do that. Nobody's asking you to applaud anyone, Whoopi said firmly. But you can disagree with someone without being cruel about it. I haven't been cruel, Joy protested. I've been honest. You've been hostile, Scarlett corrected. And honestly, Joy, I'm trying to understand why. Did I do something to you personally? Because this feels personal. Don't flatter yourself, Joy said dismissively. This isn't about you personally. This is about holding people with power accountable. Then hold me accountable for things I'm actually doing wrong now, not things I've already tried to make amends for. Scarlett challenged. What would you like me to do differently? Genuinely, I'm asking. What do you think I should be doing that I'm not? Joy paused, seemingly caught off guard by the direct question. I think you should stop acting like you're some kind of champion for social justice when you've benefited from the very systems that oppress others. I've never claimed to be a champion, Scarlett said evenly. I've said I'm trying to do better and use my platform more responsibly. That's it. I'm not saying I'm perfect or that I haven't made mistakes. I'm saying I'm actively trying to learn and grow. Why is that not acceptable to you? Because talk is cheap, Joy replied. It's not just talk, though, Scarlett insisted. I've put my money where my mouth is. I've stepped away from projects. I've amplified other voices. I've used my production company to tell stories that wouldn't otherwise get told. What else do you want? I want you to stop centering yourself in every conversation about social justice, Joy said. Scarlett looked genuinely confused. How am I centering myself? You're the one who brought all of this up. I came here to talk about my film. And your film is about what? A brave woman standing up to corruption? Come on, Scarlett. You're clearly trying to rehab your image. Or maybe I just thought it was a good script with an important message, Scarlett said, her voice rising again. Not everything is calculated, Joy. Sometimes people just want to tell meaningful stories. How convenient that this meaningful story also happens to make you look good, Joy said with a smirk. You know what, Joy? I don't think there's anything I could say right now that would satisfy you, Scarlett said, shaking her head. You've decided who I am and what my motivations are, and nothing I say is going to change your mind. Maybe you're right, Joy conceded. Maybe I have decided. And maybe that should tell you something. It tells me that you're more interested in being right than being fair, Scarlett responded. It tells me that you've got some kind of axe to grind, and I just happen to be the person sitting in front of you today. Joy's expression hardened. Don't you dare try to make this about me. Why not? You've made this entire interview about me and my supposed failings. Why can't I point out that maybe you're bringing your own bias to this conversation? Because I'm not the one who's taken roles from marginalized people, Joy snapped. We're back to that again? Scarlett said incredulously. I stepped away from that project, Joy. Years ago. How many times do I have to say it? Until you actually mean it. How would you even know if I mean it? You've already decided I don't. Sarah tried to interject. Maybe we should. No, Scarlett said firmly, holding up her hand. I want to finish this conversation, because clearly Joy has more she wants to say. So say it, Joy. Get it all out. What else am I guilty of? Joy looked almost surprised by the invitation but quickly recovered. You want me to be honest? I want you to be fair, but honest will do, Scarlett replied. Fine. I think you're emblematic of everything wrong with Hollywood. I think you've coasted on privilege your entire career, and now that the world is demanding better, you're scrambling to seem progressive without actually doing the hard work of examining your own complicity in harmful systems. Based on what evidence? Scarlett demanded. Based on your choices, Joy said simply. My choices to step away from problematic projects? My choices to produce films about women's stories? My choices to advocate for pay equity and workplace safety? Those choices? Your choices to only do those things after you got called out, Joy clarified. So I can't win, Scarlett said, throwing up her hands. If I don't change, I'm a problem. If I do change, it's performative. What exactly is the path forward here, Joy? Maybe there isn't one for you, Joy said coldly. The entire table went silent. Even the audience gasped. Scarlett stared at Joy, her expression shifting from anger to something closer to disbelief. Maybe there isn't one for me? Are you serious right now? I'm just being honest, Joy said with a shrug. Some people have done too much damage to recover from. That's absolutely ridiculous, Whoopi interjected forcefully. Joy, you're out of line. Am I? Joy challenged. Or am I just saying what everyone's thinking? You're not speaking for me, Alyssa said firmly, and I think you need to dial it back. Joy ignored her, keeping her focus on Scarlett. Look, I'm sorry if the truth hurts, but someone needs to say it. Scarlett's voice was trembling now, but not with fear, with barely contained rage. The truth? Joy, you don't know what the truth is. You've created this entire narrative in your head about who I am based on gossip and headlines. You've ignored everything I've actually done and said. You've dismissed my growth, my apologies, my actions. And now you're sitting here telling me there's no path forward? What gives you the right? I have the right to my opinion, Joy shot back. Your opinion is cruel and it's unfair, Scarlett said, her voice shaking. And honestly, it says more about you than it does about me. Excuse me? Joy's voice rose sharply. You heard me, Scarlett said, leaning forward. This whole thing, this attack disguised as an interview, It's not about holding me accountable. It's about you feeling superior. It's about you getting to tear someone down on national television and feeling righteous about it. How dare you? Joy started, but Scarlett cut her off. No, how dare you? How dare you invite me here under the pretense of a normal interview and then ambush me with questions about things I've already addressed? How dare you dismiss every attempt I've made to do better? How dare you tell me there's no path forward for me when you have no idea what I've been through or what work I've done privately? Joy's face was red now. I don't need to know what you've done privately. Your public actions speak volumes. My public actions include stepping away from projects, advocating for others, producing meaningful work, and yes, making mistakes and owning them. Scarlett fired back. What have you done, Joy, besides sit here and judge people? The audience murmured. Sunny's eyes went wide. Scarlett. No, I'm serious, Scarlett continued, her voice getting stronger. It's real easy to sit in that chair and criticize everyone else's choices. It's real easy to demand perfection from people while never examining your own behavior. You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk about the accountability of journalists who use their platforms to bully people. I am not a bully, Joy said indignantly. Then what do you call this? Scarlett gestured around the table. You've spent this entire interview trying to humiliate me. That's not holding someone accountable, Joy. That's cruelty. I asked you tough questions, Joy protested. You ask loaded questions with no right answers, Scarlett corrected. And when I tried to answer honestly, you mocked me. When I explained the steps I've taken, you dismissed them. When I asked what more I could do, you told me there was nothing. That's not tough questions. That's a setup. Whoopi nodded slowly. She's got a point, Joy. Joy turned to Whoopi, looking betrayed. You're taking her side? I'm not taking sides, Whoopi said carefully. But I am saying that this interview went off the rails and you were driving the train. I was doing my job, Joy insisted. Your job is to interview guests, not prosecute them, Whoopi replied. There's a line and you crossed it. Joy's mouth opened and closed, clearly not expecting pushback from her co-host. She turned back to Scarlett. If you felt attacked, maybe you should examine why these questions made you so uncomfortable. Scarlett laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, I'm examining it, Joy. I'm examining why a woman who has her own complicated history feels entitled to judge mine so harshly. I'm examining why you seem to take pleasure in making me uncomfortable. I'm examining why you think it's acceptable to tell someone there's no path forward for them. And you know what I've concluded? That this was never about me learning or growing. This was about you getting a moment. That's not true, Joy said, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, you got exactly what you wanted. You got to make me squirm on live television. You got to position yourself as morally superior. You got your viral moment. Congratulations, Joy. I hope it was worth it. The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Sarah looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. Alyssa was shaking her head slowly. Joy gathered herself. You know what, Scarlett? You're right. I do think I'm morally superior to someone who's made the choices you've made. And that's exactly the problem, Scarlett said quietly. You think you're better than me? You think you've never made mistakes or hurt anyone or needed forgiveness. But we both know that's not true, don't we? Joy's eyes flashed dangerously. What's that supposed to mean? It means we've all got things in our past we're not proud of, Scarlett said evenly. The difference is, I'm willing to own mine. Are you? I'm not the one being interviewed here, Joy deflected. Convenient, Scarlett observed. You get to sit in judgment of everyone else but never have to answer for yourself. Whoopi jumped in, trying to regain control. All right, I think we need to wrap this up. No, wait, Joy said, holding up a hand. I want to respond to that. Scarlett, if you're implying that I've done something comparable to your mistakes, you're way off base. I'm not implying anything, Scarlett said calmly. I'm simply pointing out that throwing stones from glass houses is generally a bad idea. My house is brick, Joy said defiantly. Is it though? Scarlett challenged. Because I seem to remember a few controversies of your own over the years. But I guess those don't count, right? Because you're on the right side of the table? Joy stood up abruptly. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. Oh, so when you're the one being questioned, suddenly it's too much? Scarlett said, also standing. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Sit down, both of you, Whoopi commanded, but neither moved. I came here in good faith, Scarlett said, her voice shaking again. I came here thinking we'd have a respectful conversation. Instead, I got ambushed by someone who clearly had an agenda from the start. And when I defend myself, you act like I'm the problem. Well, I'm done. I'm done apologizing for trying. I'm done being told nothing I do will ever be enough. And I'm especially done with people like you, Joy, who use accountability as a weapon while never applying the same standards to themselves. You don't get to lecture me, Joy said sharply. Why not? You've been lecturing me for the past 20 minutes, Scarlett countered. Or does it only work one way? The two women stared at each other across the table, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Finally, Scarlett grabbed her purse. Thank you to everyone else for having me. Joy, I hope you're proud of yourself. Where are you going? Joy demanded. We're not done. Yes, we are, Scarlett said firmly. I'm not going to sit here and be your punching bag anymore. You want to keep coming at me, do it when I'm not here. I'm sure you will anyway. She started to walk off the set. Whoopi called after her. Scarlett, wait. But Scarlett kept walking, her head held high even as the audience murmured in shock. Joy sat back down, arms crossed, looking defiant even as her co-hosts stared at her in disbelief. Well, Sunny said finally, breaking the silence, that was something. That was unnecessary, Alyssa said pointedly, looking directly at Joy. She couldn't handle the heat, Joy said dismissively, but there was uncertainty in her voice now. The heat? Sarah repeated incredulously. Joy, you told her there was no path forward for her. What did you expect to happen? I expected her to answer the questions like an adult instead of running away, Joy replied. She did answer your questions, Whoopi said tiredly. You just didn't like the answers. And then you kept pushing and pushing until she snapped. This is on you. Joy looked around the table at her co-hosts, clearly expecting support that wasn't coming. I was doing what we always do, asking tough questions. There's tough questions and then there's whatever that was, Whoopi said, and that was not our finest moment. The show cut to commercial, leaving the audience and everyone watching at home stunned by what they'd just witnessed. So there you have it. What started as a simple interview turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. And the question everyone's asking is, who was really in the wrong here? Was Joy justified in her line of questioning, or did she take things too far? Did Scarlett overreact, or was she right to stand up for herself? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. And if you want to see more breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button because trust me, we've got plenty more to talk about. What's your take? Was Scarlett right to walk off the set?